Hello friends, welcome to this video from Chaturmanas. In this video, we are going to learn about network access control list and security groups in AWS. Access control list and security groups both are firewalls in AWS, but they work very differently. So let's see some of the differences. Security group works at an instance level, whereas the network access control list works at a subnet level. Security groups allows only allow rules, whereas access control list supports both allow and deny rules. Security groups are stateful in nature, and access control lists are stateless. What is stateful? Stateful is if you open a port for an incoming, you don't need to explicitly mention an outgoing equivalent to that. In the case of stateless, you have to have an equivalent of outgoing rules as well. During the demo, anyway, we will see what is the stateful and stateless more in detail. In the case of security group, when you have multiple rules, all the rules are evaluated before it decide to allow the traffic. In the case of access control list, you have to write the rules one after the other with a number. It decides on based on the order of the number, and depending on the order of the number, the priority will be given to that access control list. In the case of security group, the security group by default will be created for every EC2 that has been launched during the launch process itself, or you also have an option of choosing the existing security group while creating an EC2. In the case of access control list, when you are creating a VPC, a default ACL will be created, which will be get associated with all the subnets. Another major difference between security group and ACL is an EC2 can get associated with more than one security group. I think the maximum is 5. In the case of access control list, one subnet can have a maximum of connection to only one ACL. You cannot have two ACLs connected to the same subnet. So this is the typical architecture of the VPC, wherein I have also pointed out the security components. And as I explained, the two firewalls, the security group as well as the access control list, both are present here, and they work in a different level. As you can see, the security group is within the public subnet or this particular subnet, and this security group is within this subnet, whereas the access control lists are outside the subnet. Now let's take an example that this EC2 is trying to ping this EC2. Then the port to be opened is at only security group level, because the security groups works within a subnet. Let's take an example. The same EC2 is trying to communicate or trying to ping to this EC2 now. Now there are two levels of firewalls that has to be modified. One is at this security group level, you have to have a ping allowed, and at the access control level as well, the ping to be enabled. So the request all the way travels like this, and then if all the ports are open, then only it will be able to successfully ping this EC2. So this is how happens. So with this combination of security group and access control level, you can have a better combination of the security firewalls that can be implemented for your subnets. And this is one of the best practice that also AWS recommends, wherein you always work with ACL and security group because they complement each other to harden your security policies. So let's try to have the same demo on the AWS console now. To do this particular demo, I have already created a VPC, and I have already created two subnets, one named it as public and one named it as private. Okay, and I also created a security group which have been associated with the respective EC2s. The EC2 are also have been created. So I'm just going to the AWS console that we have, and in this AWS console I have two tabs. The first tab is EC2 instances, and the second tab displays the VPCs. So I'm on the VPC page now, and as you can see that I'm in a Mumbai region. So all my demo I usually do it in a Mumbai region. So we are in a Mumbai region, and in the Mumbai region I have already created a VPC. So I'm not going to demonstrate how to create a VPC in this particular video. We already have a video uploaded that demonstrate how to create a VPC. So please watch that if you want to learn how to create a VPC. So this VPC is already created, and you can see that. So I'll just click on this VPCs here. Sorry. So I'll click on this your VPCs, and you can see that there are two VPCs already available. So one VPC is the default VPC that comes with the AWS itself, and this is the my VPC that has been created. And if you look at the CIDR, it has 10.0.0.16 0.0/16, and I have two subnets that has been created. One is public and one is private. And then I also have there are no NAT gateways as such, because we created a NAT instance for this particular VPC. And then we have an internet gateway so that we can establish an internet connectivity from the EC2s. So we have the entire VPCs ready. We also have a security list here, access control list, and it is also named as my VPC. So we will come to this access control list a little later. So first let's go to the instances dashboard, and we will see how many instances we have. So we have 4 instances. Those have been created apart from the NAT. So 2 are in a private subnet and 2 are in a public subnet. And you can click on the public server 1. You'll see that this has an IP address, global IP address. This also has a private IP address. If I click on public server, it has a global IP address as well as it has a private IP address. The same way, if I click on private server, it doesn't have a public IP address, it just have a private IP address. And if I go to private 2, then it has no public access but has a private IP address. Then sorry for that. And if you look at the security groups, all EC2s have been associated with the security group called as SSH only. Now if you really want to see what is there in that, so you can just click on this view inbound rules, which will show you the ports open, as well as if I click on view outbound rules, it will show the ports open for the outbound connection. Now if you want to modify, or if you want to view more onto this security group, either you can click on this here, or you can scroll down at the left hand side and you can click on security groups here, and it will show all the security groups those are created for this. Now what we will do as part of this particular example is, so if I have to go back to my diagram, so we have couple of EC2s created here, we have couple of EC2s created here. So we will create a security group that allows me to ping from one EC2 to another EC2 within a public within a subnet, as well as if I have to ping from here to here, it's the same subnet that we create, that it should be able to allow. Now this security group that is by default attached has the port number only SSH open. If I just again have to go back to public 1, and if I click view inbound rules, you can see that only port number 22 is open. So what we'll do, we'll create a new security group. To create a new security group, I just go at the left hand side, click on security group, and I'll say create security group. I will name it as ping only. Let's create a security group that allows me to ping only. I do not want to do any other activities on this particular security group, so I will say ping only. Now when I say ping only, the outbound connection has, there are two connections here. One is called as an inbound and one is called as outbound. Inbound is what ports are allowed to be connected into the EC2 from an outside world is an inbound. Outbound is from EC2 what ports are allowed to be communicated outside this network is called as an outbound. So inbound is into the EC2, outbound is out from the EC2. The default behavior of a security group is by default nothing is allowed from an inbound unless and until it is a server which requires either an SSH or an RDP to take a remote connection. Nothing is allowed. In the case of outbound, everything is allowed. So all traffic is allowed from this EC2 to the other networks. For example, from this EC2, if I have an internet connection, I can connect to Google, I can browse, or I can connect to other network, I can do that. So there is no restriction from an outbound perspective. But whereas inbound perspective, I need to have lot of restriction, and by default nothing is allowed. So I'll say add rule. and it asks me what rule to add. The first one is the type, and if I just click here, there are a lot of ports mentioned here. What port I really want to open. Okay, I can choose the standard one like SSH, SMTP, HTTP, POP3, IMAP. I can choose them, or if I have an application that is running on a very custom port which is not defined here, then I can say custom TCP rule and I can specify the port range here. I can also specify port range from this port to this port. I can also do that. Now, as part of this particular exercise, since we want to do an ICMP only, so let me choose the ICMP here. The ICMP is here, all ICMP. Okay, and protocol ICMP is chosen and it chooses the port range as well. Then we have a source from where these ICMP or from where this particular protocol is allowed to be connected. Okay, is the source. When you have a custom wherein I can go and specify a specific IP address saying that I want to do it only from a one of the server, I can go ahead and do that, or I want to get it pinged only from another specific IP address, I can go and write that. Okay, that is custom. Or you can specify anywhere. When you say anywhere, anywhere from the internet, okay, or anywhere from the network, so no restrictions at all. Whoever can connect to that particular network can go and ping that EC2 as well, so there is no restriction. The third one is called as an my IP. My IP is if you want this particular EC2 to be able to ping from your current IP. Maybe this when you click on my IP, it will fetch you your router IP, your internet router IP or internet gateway IP from your local network, or if your laptop or the desktop is, if it is already connected to an internet and if it has a public IP address, it fetches that as well. So for now, I will say anywhere and I'll say create. Okay, so ping only is created. Okay, so what we'll do now is we will log into one of the server. That's a private server, the public server, and we will see whether we will be able to ping. I already have configured this putty session so that it takes the ppk file and everything. I'll just load it. And in the other video where we have demonstrated how to create an EC2, there we have detailed explained this putty settings as well. So please feel free to watch that video. In this video, I'm not going to demonstrate what settings to be made on this putty. So I have saved the session, I just loaded and I have given the IP address of the first server. So I'll just say open and I got connected and the IP address, local IP address of that is 117. So this is what you can see here, 117. Okay, now, so we created an we created a security group and we haven't attached that security group to this server. These servers currently have SSH only security group. So let's try to ping whether we'll be able to ping or not. 10.0.1.9. So let's try to ping the second server. No, we are not able to ping, and if you look at this, we tried pinging from this EC2 to this EC2. We were unsuccessful because only SSH is opened on this security group, right? And let's see if we can ping a private server. So I'll just take this IP address and I will try to ping, and it's not happening. Okay, now if I go back to diagram, so we tried to ping from this EC2 all the way here till this EC2, but it was not successful. Okay, the reason is again this is attached to the same security group that has SSH, only SSH open. Like for example, if I just click on this private 2 and if I say view inbound rules, it has only port number 22. Okay, so what we will do now is we will change the security group of it. Okay, and go to networking, say change security group. You can either add ping only, okay, or you can delete this. Okay, let's say I will add the ping only security group to this EC2. We did it for public 2. Let's do the same thing for private 2 and private 1 server. So basically by doing this, we are enabling the ping as well on these servers. Okay, now let's try to ping. Since at the security group level we have opened up the port, we should be able to ping. So this is one server, yes. This is a private server. There is another public server, yes. So we are able to ping from here to here, as well as from here to all the way to here. We are able to do anything. So this is how the security group works. Now let's go back to the security group and we'll see one more. So we will see one more configuration there, and that is called as an outbound. So what has happened here, in the case of outbound, there is a current all traffic is allowed. Let's say I do not want this EC2 to communicate to um, to to communicate anything outside of its network. So what I can do is I can straight away delete this and not required. Okay, so this is ping only. What we did is we went ahead and we deleted everything from this. So inbound allowed ICMP to be connected to into the EC2, outbound no connections at all. And now I will try to ping this. It still allows any of the IP. It still allows. Yeah, that's the wrong IP address. So this is what happens. So this is called as a stateful. Stateful is when we define a security group. Okay, when you define a security group, when you type an inbound, there need not to be an equivalent outbound connection for the same protocol. Okay, this is called as a stateful type of a firewall. You just define what is the port to be allowed inside, and the same port is also will be allowed to communicate outside as well using the same port. Okay, so and you must have noticed one more thing. When I say edit, this allows me only to enter the protocols which are to be allowed. There is nothing like I choose a protocol, like for example I choose an SMTP and I cannot say deny. Okay, so that is not allowed. In the case of security group, that is not allowed. You have to mention the ports only to be allowed from this particular network. Okay, so this is how the security group works. Okay, as I explained, so security groups has to be associated or works at a EC2 level. Okay, and now let's go to this network access list and we'll see how this works. Now if I had to go back to network access list, I had to go to the VPCs and I click on these network access list. And when you create a VPC, there is one default network access list that will be get created. This is what it is. And if you look at this, also has an inbound rules and outbound rules, correct? And the way we configure network access control list is entirely different. There are something called as the rules, rule number that we had to define. And as you can see here, you can define allow and deny. So it means I can choose a particular protocol and I can tell this is denied. Okay, so access control helps you to define the denial rules as well. Okay, so there is a default access control list that will be created, and the behavior of a default access control list that allows is it allow all traffic from an inbound as well as from an outbound perspective. This is a default behavior of a access control list that is created along with the VPC. Okay, so let's try to create our own access control list where we want to allow an ICMP, or we'll try to deny as well at a ACL level. So first we'll try to deny it. To do that, first we have to create a ACL. I'll create an ACL, that's access control list, and I will call it as, let's say, I'll just call it as ping because we allow as well as deny to this, and I'll choose the VPC. VPC is my VPC. Okay, and I'll say create. So this is pretty simple, and the access control list will be created. But if you look at this access control list will have an inbound rules as well as outbound rules already defined, and both the rules are denied. It means it does not allow any packet inside inbound as well as outbound. This is how the default custom access control list will be created. Okay, now I have to define stating how the what port number to be opened for this communication. So I'll say edit inbound rules, and I know that I want to configure the ICMP to be allowed or denied, right? So I'll say add allow. So first we will try to allow it. We'll see how the allow works, and then we will see how the denial works. Okay, now before this, what we will do is we will go back to our subnet and we'll try to attach this. I explained earlier your access control list works at a subnet level, so it has to be associated at a subnet level. So the subnets are available here. I'll just click on this subnet and I will choose this private. Okay, private subnet. I'll go to network ACL. I'll say edit network ACL, and I am allowed to choose one. I cannot choose multiple here. One subnet has to be associated a maximum of only one ACL. Okay, so I'll just choose ping. Currently everything is denied, and I'll just save it. Now let's come back to our EC2 and we'll see if we are still able to ping it. So this is the another public server. So let's try to ping a private server. So is private server pinging now? No, it is not pinging because the ping is allowed here as well as allowed here on these security groups, but at a network access level it has been blocked. So the request comes all the way till here, and since it is blocked, it doesn't get completed. Okay, so what we will do now, we will try to allow the ping from this ACL now. Now I'll go back to AWS again and I'll go to ACLs, network ACLs, and I'll go to ping and I'll say inbound rules and I'll say edit inbound rules, and now I'll add a rule and I will give a number. The numbers are from 1 to 65,000 odd, and the lower the number, the priority will be more. In terms of evaluating these rules, AWS starts from the first rule and then it goes all the way till it reaches its matching record. For example, in the 100, I write ICMP all allowed. Okay, and in the add rule, in the 101, I will say all ICMP denied. Now the question is which one will get executed. Okay, as I said, it starts from the first rule and it goes all the down till whatever the number that you have. You can have at the maximum of 65,000 odd that you have. Okay, and this 100, when it is going in that series, it has to go in that order. When it is going in that order, when it finds a match for the ICMP in the 100 record and it finds it is allowed, then it allows. It does not even go to 101 to check whether is there any denial for that. Okay, but the same way if I do the other way, wherein I will say that this is 99 and I'll say deny. Now in that case, the first record that comes is the 99, so it denies and then it allows. So that's what happens when evaluating these different rules and working on it. So now we really want to allow, so I just give allow and I'll say save. Okay, and now since the ICMP is allowed, let's go back and check whether we have anything that is allowed here. So again, I'll go to my public server where we have logged in and try to ping our private server, and you will see that still it is not able to ping. Is my rules correct? Yes, the rule is correct, but still I'm not able to ping because as I explained, this is the stateless. Access control list is a stateless. So I'll go to outbound rules. Outbound rule, everything is denied. It means no packets are allowed to be travel outside this particular network. So I had to say edit outbound rules and I had to add an equivalent of an ICMP. Hello. Now let's try to do it, and there we go. So this is how it happens. So you have to have an inbound rules, and equivalent to that inbound rules you also need to have an outbound rules. So this is called as a stateless. In the case of stateful, that is security group, you found that you just wrote an inbound rule and it started working. You don't need to have an explicit outbound rule for that. But in the case of access control list, you need to have an inbound rule as well as an equivalent of outbound rule. Then only the packet will be allowed to traverse across the region. So this is what happens in the case of inbound rules and the outbound rules in the case of access control list, right? So, okay, let's try to do one more thing. As I explained, how this sequencing or how this ordering of the evaluation of this particular rule works. Okay, let's try to do that. And what for that, what I will do is I'll say edit outbound rules, and currently the ICMP is allowed, and I'll say add rule, and I will say at 101, I'll say ICMP deny. So what we are going to do here in the outbound rules in the access control list, and the 100 I said allow, in the 101 and deny, and let's see how it behaves. If I go back to my server and if I try to ping the private IP address, so it is working, it is able to ping. It just means that it has not evaluated this particular rules at all, because as I said, when it goes with the ordering number, it found a match for 100 and then it found that allow and it get executed, right? So it does not even evaluate or does not even come to this particular line. Let's try to do the other way. Let's make it as 99 and I'll say save. Okay, and this time the first match is 99 deny and the next match is 100 allow. Let's try to do that. This time I'll ping, and because it found the denial first, so it denied that particular packet, it did not allow. So this is how the access control list will work in AWS. So okay, so let's start one more thing. Now currently we are not able to ping the private servers, right? Because at the access control level we have blocked ICMP packets. But will the same effect be there for the uh, public servers within the same subnet? No. So what we are trying to do here is I'm trying to ping from this server to this server. It is working. I'm trying to ping from this server all the way till here. And you just seen that at a port number, at the order number 99, we have blocked the ICMP packets. So this network ACL is not allowing me to ping these servers. So this is what is happening. Yeah. So I think what we learn here in this video is we learned how this security group works, how the access control list works, how differently they should be configured, what is stateful and what is stateless, and it's always a recommended practice from everyone or in the AWS that you have to use the combination of security group as well as ACL to harden your security policies. Okay. So that's it for this particular video, guys. Please subscribe to Chatramana so that you will get notified whenever we upload such educational training videos on YouTube. So please keep in touch with us, and thank you and have a nice day.